You've heard of DBT, you've heard of RODBT, and maybe you're wondering what the difference is. They sound really similar, but they're for very different issues. In this video, I will explain the difference between an under-controlled temperament and an over-controlled temperament, as well as going over the difference between the two therapy modalities, DBT and RODBT, that help address each issue. Hey there, Jessica here. I'm a therapist in Austin who specializes in radically open dialectical behavior therapy, or RODBT, as well as sleep, chronic pain, and OCD. RODBT is a therapy approach for people who struggle with things like perfectionism, rigidity, or trouble relaxing. And make sure you stick around till the end if you're a fan of The Office, because I use it to illustrate who is a good candidate for each therapy, using characters from The Office. But let's start out. I'll talk just a little bit about where RODBT came from. So RODBT did come out of DBT, and DBT was designed to address maladaptive under control. So think of this like impulsivity, chaotic and destructive relationships, difficulty regulating emotions, and it's super effective for those issues. But it started to become apparent that not everybody was benefiting from this treatment. And eventually it was realized that some people are actually maladaptively over-controlled, and DBT was just helping them be more over-controlled. So I'll talk now about adaptive versus maladaptive. So think of over-control and under-control as temperaments, coping styles, ways of moving through the world. Neither are inherently a problem. It's a matter of degree. A person can be 100% over-controlled or 100% under-controlled and be a perfectly happy, healthy, functional person. By about the age of 4 or 5, you are going to start seeing the emergence of over-control or under-control. Under-controlled kids could be described as highly emotional, overly expressive, like everyone knows how they're feeling. They wear their heart on their sleeve. Over-controlled kids, more timid, more constrained, not as easy to read, play their cards close to the vest, as that phrase goes. So I'm curious, where do you think you lean? So let me know in the comments below. I definitely lean more toward the over-control, as do most therapists. So I'll let you in on a little secret. Most therapists lean over-control. So pause real quick and just say, please consider subscribing to the channel if you are finding this useful. So over-control and under-control differ along 4 different domains, and I'll break those down. So the 4 different domains are reward sensitivity, threat sensitivity, inhibitory control, and processing. So we talk about what those are because we're getting like super technical here. Reward sensitivity. How good does stuff feel, essentially? So under-controlled people are very reward sensitive. They get excited about things more easily. They feel pleasure more readily. Over-controlled people are not as excitable, and they really do seem to be less pleasure sensitive. Like we really do think some of that is just the brain that you're born with. The next domain, threat sensitivity. Under-controlled people tend to be less threat sensitive. There are some exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, people that lean more under-controlled, they are less threat sensitive. Over-controlled are much more threat sensitive. So that is to say more suspicious, less open, less trusting. An over-controlled person and an under-controlled person could look at the same thing. Let's say a crowd of people. And the under-control person will assume it's fun, it's a party, it's a parade, let's go approach. The over-control person will assume threat or danger. I don't know these people, we could get hurt, let's steer clear. And then the 4th domain, or I'm sorry, this is the 3rd domain, I should learn how to count right here, is inhibitory control. 3rd one is inhibitory control. Under-controlled people are much more impulsive on average than over-controlled people. Under-controlled people are much more controlled by their mood. So their rule is if it feels good, do it. Consequences be damned. Under-controlled people, more inhibited, more hesitant, tend to be more controlled by the rules they hold themselves to than how they're feeling. So whether they feel like doing it doesn't really come into play if they have to do it or they feel like they have to do it. Now the 4th domain, It's just how they process information. Under control people tend to be more big picture thinkers. Over control people are going to be more focused on the details. So before I get into the very last segment, I also want to say that I send a monthly newsletter that covers stuff related to this topic, as well as my other areas of expertise. If this is interesting to you, please consider subscribing. The link is in the description below. So finally, when does this become a problem? Because like I said earlier, it's not inherently a problem. It's not inherently a problem to lean more over control or lean more under control. All of us lean a little bit one way or the other. Some of us lean a little bit farther one way or the other. Well, it starts to become a problem when it starts to work against you. So I'll use some, this is where I'm going to use some of my office examples. If you lean under control, and it has become a problem in your life, DBT is the way you're going to want to go. If you lean over control and it has become a problem in your life, RODBT is the way you're going to want to go. So I love to use the TV show The Office to illustrate the difference in these two temperaments. So for under control, Kelly Kapoor, Mindy Kaling's character, Kelly Kapoor, under control all the way. Her relationship with Ryan is so stormy and chaotic. So I'm just going to share what I remember from the series. I have watched the whole thing start to finish. It's been a few years, but I've seen every single episode. If I get any details wrong, or if you have more examples, please feel free to share those down in the comments. But okay, so her stormy, chaotic relationship with Ryan. So there's actually an episode where Kelly lies to Ryan about being pregnant. I can't remember if he's trying to break up. I think he's trying to break up with her. And then she says, oh, and by the way, I'm pregnant. And then it cuts to the scenes where they do the commentary. And she's like, she lied about it. Your impulsive decision, like, did not think that all the way through. Like, how long are you going to be able to keep this fib up if you're not really pregnant? She wasn't thinking that far ahead. That wasn't the point. The point was like, oh my God, I'm being abandoned. I need to do something about this now. I'm going to throw this lie out. It's going to work for now. I'm not really thinking about the consequences. And then finally, at the very end, I think she ends up with a different guy and they have a baby. And then like the very last episode, she like runs off with Ryan. She just like leaves the baby with this other guy and runs off with Ryan. Kelly's a great candidate for DBT. Now I want to say, of course, these are TV characters. They're exaggerated. They're over the top. I'm certainly not saying that like, oh, if, you know, people who go to DBT like abandon babies and lie about being like, you know, these are there's the whole purpose is entertainment. But I still think that Kelly is a really good example of somebody who might be more under controlled, somebody who would be a good candidate for DBT. Now let's look at the other side of things. So an over-controlled, more RODBT example, that is Angela Martin. That is Angela, quintessential over-control. She is so uptight. She's super rigid. There's a scene where she says the clothes at Gap Kids are too flashy, so she has to go to the American Girls store and buy clothing for, quote, large colonial dolls. There's another episode where they're having, it's supposed to be a launch party, and Phyllis messes up the banner and it says lunch party. And when Angela realizes it, she just lays into her. She's like, I cannot believe you could be so stupid. Angela would go to RODBT. I think Dwight would too. I think Dwight's a great candidate for RODBT. So if you want to learn more about over control, I will link a related video at the end where I delve a little bit more into this concept. But that is where I'm going to finish things up for today. So as always, I hope it was helpful, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.